Have you ever noticed that Gravity Falls feels different when you watch it a second time? At first, it looks like a funny cartoon about two kids spending the summer with their weird uncle. But the more you look at it, the stranger it gets. Hidden messages, characters appearing before they are introduced, warnings about events that wouldn't happen until seasons later, and some details that were sitting on screen the entire time. So today, we're going back into Gravity Falls and looking at 10 of the creepiest secrets you probably missed. And trust me, number 1 makes the entire show feel different. Number 10, The Whisper. Let's start with something almost nobody notices. At the very end of the Gravity Falls opening, you can hear a strange whisper, but here's the weird part. If you play it backwards, it isn't random noise. It gives you instructions. In the early episodes, the whisper tells you 3 letters back. That's actually a clue telling you how to decode the secret message hidden in the episode's credits. Later, the message changes as the show introduces different types of ciphers. So the opening theme wasn't just an opening, it was basically giving viewers the keys to unlock the show. And if you watched Gravity Falls without ever checking the credits, you were missing an entire layer of the story. Number 9, Stan is not what he seems. This one is even crazier. During the opening, there's a frame that appears for only a fraction of a second. On the right side, there's a strange sequence of letters. At first, it looks completely meaningless, but using the cipher from the whisper, it becomes Stan is not what he seems. And remember, this was there from the beginning, long before we learned about Ford, long before the portal, long before we discovered what Stan had been hiding underneath the mystery shack. The show basically told us the truth in the very first episode, and we didn't know how to read it. Number 8, The Zodiac was a warning. Now look at the strange wheel surrounding Bill Cipher in the opening. Every symbol represents someone. The pine tree represents Dipper. The shooting star represents Mabel. The 6-fingered hand represents Ford, and several other symbols correspond to major characters. At first, it just looks like a cool, mysterious image, but later, during Weirdmageddon, these symbols become incredibly important. The characters actually used the Zodiac as part of a plan against Bill, so something that looked like random artwork in the opening was actually connected to the ending of the entire series. Number 7, The Floating Room. There's another detail in the opening that's incredibly easy to miss. For just a moment, Dipper and Mabel's room starts floating. Objects lift into the air. Everything looks like gravity has suddenly stopped working. At the time, it seems like nothing more than a visual joke. But then we reach Season 2. In Not What He Seems, Stan activates the portal beneath the mystery shack, and suddenly, gravity starts behaving exactly like it did in the opening. Objects float. People are thrown around. The entire area is affected by the portal. So that tiny scene in the opening wasn't completely random. The show was quietly showing us what the portal would do before we even knew the portal existed. Number 6, Blendin was there before you knew him. Here's one that becomes really creepy when you know the whole story. Blendin is a time traveler, but the show doesn't simply introduce him when he becomes important. He can actually be spotted in earlier episodes. He's hidden in the background of scenes where you would never expect him to be, and that changes how you look at those episodes, because once you know who he is, you start wondering, was he just watching? Was he fixing something, or was someone already monitoring the twins before they even realized how important they were? That's one of the coolest things about Gravity Falls. Characters can be standing in the background long before you know their names. Number 5, MC Guckett remembers Bill. This one is genuinely disturbing. In Society of the Blind Eye, McGuckett's memories begin coming back. And during the scene, he suddenly says, YROOXRKSVIGIRZMTOV. It sounds completely insane, but it's actually a message written using the Atbash cipher. And when you decode it, it says, Bill Cipher Triangle. Think about that. McGucket has spent years losing his memories. His mind has been damaged by repeatedly using the memory gun. And yet, somewhere inside all that broken memory, the name of Bill Cipher is still there. It's almost like his brain couldn't completely forget what happened. And that's a lot darker than it sounds. Number 4. The memory gun didn't really erase anything. The Society of the Blind Eye had a terrifying solution to Gravity Falls' supernatural problems. If you saw something you weren't supposed to see, they erased your memory. Sounds convenient, right? Except there's a problem. The memories weren't actually destroyed. They were stored inside the Hall of the Forgotten. So imagine this. You experience something horrifying. You forget it. You go back to your normal life. You don't remember being scared. You don't remember what happened. But somewhere underneath Gravity Falls, the memory still exists. And there's an even darker part. The man who created the memory gun, Fiddleford McGucket, eventually used it on himself again and again. The more he erased, the more of himself he lost. Eventually, he became the version of McGucket we know. So one of the show's funniest characters is actually the result of years of deliberately destroying his own memories. That's incredibly dark for a Disney cartoon. Number 3. I Eat Kids. Now we get into the really weird stuff. Gravity Falls hides messages inside the end credits of practically every episode. And one of those messages translates to, I eat kids. Just imagine being a kid watching Gravity Falls in 2012. The episode ends, the credits start. And somewhere inside a bunch of random symbols, the show is secretly telling you, I eat kids. Of course, it's most likely intended as a joke. But that's exactly what makes Gravity Falls so strange. The show constantly hides creepy messages behind something that looks completely harmless. You have to actively look for them. And once you start, you can't stop. Number 2. The show was spoiling itself. Here's what makes Gravity Falls different from most cartoons. A lot of its Easter eggs aren't really Easter eggs. They're warnings. The opening tells us Stan isn't what he seems. The Zodiac hints at characters who will become important. The floating room hints at the portal. Blending appears before his official introduction. And cryptograms hide additional information in almost every episode. The first time you watch Gravity Falls, these details look meaningless. The second time, they look like evidence. It's almost as if the show expects you to watch it twice. Once to experience the story, and once to discover what was hiding underneath it. Number 1. Bill Cipher was hiding in plain sight. And finally, Bill Cipher. Before Bill becomes one of the most important characters in the series, the show is already surrounding us with his imagery. Triangles, eyes, strange symbols, cryptograms, the Zodiac, hidden messages, and even McGucket's strange words after his memories return. The terrifying part isn't simply that Bill appears early, it's that the entire visual language of Gravity Falls slowly teaches you to recognize him. You just don't realize it at first, and that's why Bill feels so different from a normal cartoon villain. When he finally appears, it feels like something that has been watching the show from the beginning. Because in a way, he has ending. And that's what makes Gravity Falls so fascinating. It wasn't just a cartoon filled with jokes, it was built like a giant puzzle. Almost every episode gives you another piece. A symbol, a number, a strange background character, a hidden message, a reversed whisper, something that looks meaningless until you already know the ending. And maybe the creepiest secret of Gravity Falls isn't any single monster or character. It's the fact that the answers were sitting in front of us the entire time. We just didn't know how to look for them. So, how many of these did you notice? And if you want more hidden secrets from Gravity Falls that are even deeper than these, you already know what to do.